Welcome to the launch of the Power of Oldness. And we know it's very powerful because as soon as I spoke, the Minister arrived. And of course, so many of you who are participating in the Power of Oldness have shown that stamina and determination by turning up on such a difficult rainy morning. Now, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and express my respect for their elders past and present. And I know we do have an Indigenous elder with us this morning, so Kevin, my particular welcome to you. I would also like to welcome the Minister, about whom I'll say a few words in a moment, and his staff, and my Commission colleagues, the President, Gillian Triggs, and Tim Sukomasan, our Race Discrimination Commissioner. Whether we have other commissioners around at the moment, they'll be in and out. We're very busy at the Commission. And welcome to all of you who've come to join us for this launch. Well, it won't be news to anyone in this room today that Australians are living longer, healthier lives than ever before, as well as constituting our fastest growing age group. Older Australians are active, diverse, contributing huge amounts to the community and the economy in a variety of ways. We take part in paid work when we can. If not doing this, we contribute knowledge, effort and expertise for free. Senior Australians currently contribute the highest number of volunteer hours of any age group. And this is on top of the significant unpaid caring work that they perform. If we costed these contributions, it would amount to billions of dollars of value. Oldness, as we name this glorious day today, is a treasure trove for the community and potentially for the economy. But we need some big changes fast to liberate this value. We are living through a massive demographic change, not just here in Australia but globally. Yet community attitudes, employment practices and business strategies seem to ignore where we are now in 2014 and where we are heading in terms of our ever-increasing longevity. Many attitudes and practices are stuck right back in the middle of the 20th century. Australians are living 25 years longer than they did a century ago. The number of Australians aged 85 and over is projected to increase to 1.8 million by 2050. We might have some of them already contributing to that statistic here today. Indeed, the most recent research shows that not only will many of us live into our hundreds, but we're told the next individual to live to 150 has already been born. And somewhere else. This is a triumph, something which you, your family and friends and community will want to celebrate. Make sure that there is room to schedule many more 100th birthday parties in your social calendars. Yet, centenarian birthdays aside, when we hear in the media about population, ageing is rarely positive. Media portrayals of older Australians are overwhelmingly negative, or worse still, older people are invisible. We just don't appear. Although over 14% of the population is at present over the age of 65, people in that age group featured in only a little more than 4% of advertising content and a little over 6% of editorial media. Shining a light on unrealistic and damaging stereotypes of older people has been the major focus of my work so far as Age Discrimination Commissioner. Some of you might be aware of the research I commissioned last year called Fact or Fiction, Stereotypes of Older Australians. That piece of research has guided the development of our campaign, which I'm delighted to be launching here with the Minister today. Now, that research found that over half of those surveyed saw older people only as lonely, isolated and forgetful. Now, while sadly that may be true for some, it is far from the reality of most over 65-year-olds. But 60% of those surveyed who were between the ages of 18 and 54 were found to hold predominantly negative attitudes towards older people. Those who were the most likely to hold such attitudes were people under the age of 35. These results are alarming. These negative attitudes and stereotypes lead to age discrimination, which has devastating effects on people from 45 up particularly in the matter of access to jobs. I often receive correspondence from older Australians who have lost their job and have struggled for years to get back into the workforce. They tell me they've sent out hundreds of applications and received no interviews. Or if they get an interview, they're given a message pretty quickly that their age wiped out their chance of being hired. And this message is not just a perception, it is in fact the message that they get. Our research found that 1 in 10 employers have an age over which they will not recruit, and that is 50. Between 2010 and 2013, there was a 41.2% increase in the number of people in their 50s and 60s in receipt of the New Start unemployment benefit. And this is much higher than the overall growth in New Start beneficiaries across the same period, a matter of great concern, Minister, to the government and to all of us. For those over 45, being considered too old is still the most common difficulty faced when searching for work. In 2013, 1 in 5 unemployed people over 45 report that their main difficulty in finding work is that they are considered too old by employers. It's imperative that this age discrimination is addressed, not just for the well-being of the individuals whose talent is wasted when they're locked out of the workforce, but for the community and the economy. According to research I commissioned a while ago from Deloitte Access Economics, an extra 3 percentage points of workforce participation among workers aged 55 and over would result in a 33 billion boost to GDP. A 5% lift in that age group would see more than $48 billion in extra GDP. So it's a big issue. And of course, there's a strong business case for employers to make sure they do not discriminate on the basis of age. If employers and recruiters judge on capacity to do the job rather than the number of birthdays, they are much more likely to hire those productive employees they are always seeking. Well, why don't all employers see what is in their best business interests? This is a question I grapple with continually, as I'm sure Minister Abetz does with his cabinet colleagues, as they rightly try to increase public revenues and reduce outlays. Moving capable people off benefits into work is key to the success of the government's budget strategy, as I know our Minister is all too aware. Despite the typical reluctance of employers to use the talent pool in front of them, there is some good news. Progress is being made. This graph, when we get to it, shows, it's a good one, I like this one, it shows the increase in workforce participation over time, and especially note the rise in participation of older women. However, too little and too slow. We all need to advocate change, not just governments and commissioners. The whole community needs to address this prejudice and discrimination. And that brings me to our campaign and our reason for meeting here today. The Power of Oldness campaign will, we hope, prod everyone to recognise and act to stop age discrimination. This part of the campaign is particularly aimed at younger people and employers. The former group, of course, is the most likely to hold negative views, and the latter group, the employers, are in the best position to take the action to address age discrimination. There is also a crucial role for government in providing leadership and in developing the right policies to support older Australians to stay in or get back into the workforce. And I welcome the fact that the Abetz government recognises this challenge and is taking action. As a part of the 2013-14 budget, the government has announced the $10,000 Restart wage subsidy that will be paid to qualifying employers who employ an old person for 2 years. And I'm sure the Minister, Senator Honourable Eric Abetz, will tell you more about this shortly. So at this point, I am very pleased to recognise formally the Minister, Eric Abetz. Senator Abetz is Senator for Tasmania, Minister for Employment, and Leader of the Government in the Senate. And of course, Senator Abetz, you'll all remember, served as Special Minister of State in the Howard government from 2001 to 2006. I'm sure you'll all agree that Senator Abetz has a huge task to challenge, but he is the man for it. The areas you're responsible for, Minister, go to the strength of the basic building blocks of our economy and our society. When jobs growth is strong and jobs are open to all on the basis of capacity, when we make good use of the human capital represented by all those open to work, then not only our economy but our whole community is a better place for everyone. Minister, I congratulate you on the Restart program, and I invite you now to talk to people here on the Power of Oldness and the part that Restart will play. Please welcome the Minister.
Quite frankly, I could simply say ditto and sit down. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for the opportunity to speak to such an august group and recognise the President and your fellow Commissioners and those that are genuinely interested in this issue, as it has now been described as the power of oldness. And let me, for one, be one that declares an interest in the topic. But if I might say, the power of oldness, when you see the, what do we call it these days? The video, good, I'm with you. The video that you're about to see really is a very compelling way of getting the message across about two things. One, what we lose as a society, a community, and indeed as an economy as well, when age discrimination occurs in the field of employment. And secondly, what we actually stand to gain when we fully tap into the energies, insights and skills of older Australians. So I applaud the Commission and especially Commissioner Ryan for demonstrating initiative and creativity through this campaign. The Commission is doing valuable work through its wider Age Positive project and its recent research into stereotypes of older Australians. The research and this campaign dovetails with the government's commitment to older Australians, especially in the employment area. The government is seeking to introduce practical measures to help get older job seekers into the workforce, and I'll come to that in a moment. But I think what we need to do, most of all, is to change the culture, the mindset, people's attitudes. We must state the facts and make the case about just how much mature-aged people can actually contribute, both in the workplace and in society generally. We've been provided with some statistics this morning by the Commissioner. In September 2013, the latest data available, about 65,000 persons aged 55 and over were considered to be, quote, discouraged job seekers. People who want to work but aren't actively looking for a position because they believe they simply won't find a job. When older Australians lose their jobs, they generally remain unemployed for a much longer period than the average job seeker. There's a strong perception among older job seekers that they're being discriminated against by employers, and employers often view the cost of training and reskilling older workers as too expensive, despite the fact that mature-aged people are five times less likely to change jobs than workers aged 20 to 24. Older workers are often overlooked, if not positively discriminated against in the labour market, yet they bring many positive attributes to the workplace. Qualities such as reliability, nous, calmness under pressure, perspective, leadership, and a strong work ethic. These traits are vital for and in any workplace. To exclude people from the workforce through ignorance, and that's what it is, does the enterprise, the job seeker, their family, society, and the greater economy a great disservice. Australia is an ageing population, and for those of us that have to count some beans in Canberra from time to time, we are being told that currently there are 5 taxpayers to every one a pensioner, and that is likely to change to 2.5 or 3 by the year 2050. If you make it 2.5, it becomes a pretty exact equation. Either the workers will have to pay double taxes for the pension, or you have to halve the pension just to make things equal. Now, just in case I get misrepresented by the media, something which I'm not unaccustomed to, but I am in recent times, can I simply say, definitely not on the government's agenda. That is the equation, that we are grappling with, and that is why it makes such good sense to harness the capacity of so many people who are willing to work, able to work, and make a fantastic contribution. And you, Commissioner Ryan, when we had one of our earlier discussions, are we allowed to advertise a company here or not?
Yes.
Yeah. You put me onto the Bunnings.
Yes.
Who have on their books some people over the age of 80, and as a result of your recommendation, met with Bunnings management and was surprised as to their very, very, very positive view on having workers on the floor, usually former tradies who can no longer throw bricks around or do whatever, that lifetime of knowledge and experience, and for the handyman, do-it-yourself person, these people on their shop floors are absolutely gold for the business, and of course they love sharing their knowledge, they love being of help to the younger members in the community. And so Bunnings have got it right, and I just encourage a whole lot more other employers to do exactly the same thing. Look, I've been given a lot of notes here. Let me cut through to a few issues. As Employment Minister, the social data tells me time and time again, if you're in gainful employment, your physical health, your mental health, your self-esteem, and your social interaction is so much more enhanced. And not only for you, but the family unit with which you live. And that is where, I suppose, we get the old saying about the dignity of work. And everybody in public life tells me they believe in and are passionate about the dignity of work. Well, there's a corollary to that, the indignity of non-work. And indeed, just the other day I was at a men's shed down my way. Wonderful institutions, a lot of blokes who've retired, got bored, some depressed, and the men's shed gave them a new lease of life because they were interacting socially again, doing something useful. And you talk to them, I think I retired too early, or no longer a job available, and the pension was an option, so they did it, but they really would have liked to have made a lot more positive a contribution to themselves and to society generally. And so that is why, Commissioner, this campaign is just so vitally important for a whole host of social reasons, including, if I might say, the economic reason as well. So what has the government done with Restart? It is an initiative that was announced in this budget. We've already had 11,000 unique hits. Those of you that are up to date with all the internet stuff, will be aware of what that means, but we've had 11,000 unique visits to the site, which shows, I believe, a high level of interest. We've already got over 50 people signed up, and hopefully that will accelerate. There is a very short lead-in time, but the 11,000 visits does encourage us. What does it do? If you are over 50 and you have been unemployed for 6 months, then the government will partner with an employer if they put you on for a new job, not to displace an existing worker, so just in case people get the wrong idea and think, here's a scheme. No, you will actually have to expand your workforce. After 6 months, $3,000. After 12 months, $3,000 again. After 18 months, another $2,000. After 24 months, another $2,000. All up over 2 years, $10,000. Now, look, we as a government know that employers won't decide to employ people just on that basis. It's got to stack up economically for the business. But what we're seeking to do is we've got a period of high unemployment and seeking to reboot the economy, is to say to employers who are scratching their heads on balance, lying ball, hopefully that $10,000 might just push them over the line and say, yes, we'll make a fist of this and provide another employment opportunity. And that extra employment opportunity provides all those life-enhancing opportunities to the worker, to his or her family, and of course the economy as well. And so the benefits really are there very, very strongly. Now, I've been given the privilege of having a sneak preview of that which you are about to see. I assume it hasn't been shown us yet? No. And so can I simply say that I'm sure you will find it as invigorating as I did. The video juxtaposes reality and perceptions in what I consider to be an active, pacey and poignant presentation. And whilst it's entertaining, it also has that added quality of making you think about the issue. So, without any further ado, can I applaud the Commissioner and the Commission on this initiative, and delighted that I've been given the privilege of co-launching this with Commissioner Ryan this morning. Thank you very much.
I know what you're thinking. I'm old, very old. You might be wondering, how did I get so lucky? Because, as you and I know, old people can do amazing things. We're experienced, and we know how things work. We help in our communities in ways big and small. We're active in life and online. We add billions to the economy. When it comes to the tough choices, we've got the wisdom to get it by. Oldness. It's everywhere. And if you're lucky, it can happen to you.
Sorry, sir. We're looking for someone younger.
So that's it. I hope that message will go out. It's an online web campaign. I hope you'll see it on all sorts of websites. I hope those of you who do this sort of thing will share it with your friends on Facebook. And those of you who tweet might draw attention to it. But that's it, and we hope it's hit the mark. Now, Minister Owen, whether you'd like to answer a few questions, and I might join you. Okay. Any comments or questions at this stage? Yes. And if you just say your name and where you're from, please.
Alona Fennell, National Convener of the Older Women's Network. And thank you both very much, and it's a great video, if that's what it's called. Yes. Couple of comments I want to make. We hear a lot about addressing the issue of people over 50. That's great. I have no argument with that. What about those over 70 and 80 and 90? The over 50 is a very clear group, and that group goes to 65. But there are a lot of older people that are very capable of doing a lot of good things, and we don't really address them specifically.
Well, we might not be addressing them specifically, although I think it's implied in this that no matter what your age is, you can do all those things. You could be employed. But I do have on the website the age-positive stories of all kinds of people over 80, over 90, some even centenarians, who are doing constructive things. They said in their own stories, and look, it's really fantastic to see And it's a communications thing, because when journalists ring up and ask for stories and say, well, go and have a look at those, and some of them you've seen in all kinds of media. So it's a communications challenge, but I think one that we are addressing, although not with a specific targeted employment focus. Did you have anything to add?
I think the comment you make is absolutely right. I understand that at the Sydney Bar here in New South Wales, there are some fantastic barristers well and truly over the 80-year mark. And I think of two in particular that served as former Commonwealth Attorneys General, that disqualified from being allowed to serve on the High Court and have been so disqualified by their age. I think one for 16 years and somebody else for about the same amount. Look, it's no secret Tom Hughes and Bob Ellicott are the two that I'm thinking of, and one wonders why they should not or could not have been, sitting in a judicial capacity. If they would have wanted to, I don't know whether they wanted to or not, but those that see them in action, providing great advice around the city, indeed around the nation, are so disqualified. Why? Because they reached the magical age of 70. And look, I used to be a lawyer, that's why I know that particular profession. That stands to reason. It is exactly the same in all other professions as well. Can I just tell you a little story? And I was reminded that just the other day I was in India about 1.5 years ago, and talking to one of the leaders of the opposition there. A man over 80, I had a 20-minute appointment with him. It went for an hour, and these very comfortable chairs that we were sitting in. After the 1 hour, I got up using my hands to help push me up. He just got straight up. And I thought to myself, my goodness, I hope physically and mentally I'm in as good a nick as he is, making a wonderful contribution to his nation at the age of 80 and very actively involved in the life of his country. And I think we as a nation are, well, we do a disservice to ourselves through age discrimination.
I totally agree. Any other questions or comments? Our President.
Mr. Abetz, your story about the men's shed, I think we all hear similar stories of people who say, I moved too quickly when I had the opportunity to retire. I now regret it. Or I'm finding it very difficult to get back in again. And I'm just wondering whether the government has thought at all about some form of counselling service that might encourage people at that critical stage. They're a bit burnt out, they're tired, they've got the opportunity of a pension, to try to talk to people about thinking a little bit more about their health and well-being and long-term future, so that you don't have this problem. Because I've got a feeling that when they take that rather tempting advantage of the pension, they haven't thought through the fact that if they keep up the fitness, they're going to live a lot longer, and they're going to be very frustrated by their inability to get back into the workforce. It's very damaging for their name and community.
All I can say is, good idea, President. I'm not sure what we are doing in that area. My colleague Kevin Andrews, Social Services Minister, but it would stand to reason that it might make good sense, even if it's just a short interview when people register for the age pension, that or hopefully prior to that, that they be advised as to the opportunities that might still be there for them, keeping in mind that, as I understand it, when the age pension was introduced, and sorry about this, ladies in the audience, but it was designed, I understand, on the average age of a bloke being 65. And so the bloke, if you lived beyond 65, you were going to be given it. Well, the vast majority of us blokes now live beyond 65, being extended to 67, if I might say. We've got into some trouble saying extending it to 70, but the average life expectancy for us blokes is now 79 plus. So in other words, there's still going to be 9 years of age pension for the average person. which when it was first introduced was never there. So that is how the demographics have changed, but our system of government has not, and that is something we do need to grapple with. But coming back to your point, I think that would make very good sense.
And if I could just add, Minister, I've been giving support particularly to the circumstances of skilled workers whose industry closes, such as the car workers in South Australia. And I think there might be a case for people when they're perhaps reaching the age of 50 to have some access, maybe through TAFE or some organisation like that, to get some assessment and careers counselling, because if they're 50 and they can see what's happening in their industry, they really should be thinking about what can I do for the next 20 years. And there are jobs. We do have a growing economy, thank you, and it's growing in certain areas that people in traditional trade areas never think of, the whole services sector. So I think we can all find ways to, answer the point that you raised, Julian, of getting people to think more about, I'm 50 now, I'm 60 now, but what do I want to be doing for the next 20 years? And just get a little bit of advice and direction and re-equip themselves for the next stage. Now, I think, yes, we had a... Oh, you're right there, again. You're managing that.
Prime Minister David Williams and I have a business, a website called My Longevity. And we've got over 70,000 people who visited. So far it's free and there's no sponsors on the platform. The interesting thing about this is that it shows people, it's intended to show people roughly how long they might have left to live. We don't look at age per se, and it's a starting point. And our experience is that once people have a sense of the remaining lifespan, they're much more focused on planning and actually have a time frame in which to plan. So what I call longevity awareness is, I think, a very fundamental need in our community. And we need to promote longevity awareness at all levels of government as well as in the private sector, because that's really the starting point. Once you're properly aware, you do have the ability to address the issues. As we get older, we become more diverse, not more alike. The 65-year-old you mentioned, on average, according to the actuary, will live to 84. And we know that 8 of those remaining 19 years will be without disability on average. Another 7 will be with remaining independent. So we need to get these sorts of things in train, if I can suggest, in order to get the strategic part of our thinking. Do you have any comment on that?
Just one question. The website, My Longevity?
Yes.
Right. I took a note of it.
No promise.
I will have a look, see.
No promise.
But look, thank you for that initiative. That is great. And what we need to do is encourage a few more visits. Yeah.
Yes, we might just have a couple more questions. Adriana's been monitoring. Who's...
Thank you. Lee Bowden, unemployable. My question is, an older person who's been unemployed for 6 months, but just a little bit of background. I have a BA Ed and was a high school teacher. I have a couple of master's degrees and have taught at TAFE. Recently, my husband and I relocated to the country, rural New South Wales, because we just basically couldn't afford to pay the rates in Sydney. So I thought, well, I'll go back to casual teaching. And I went to the New South Wales Institute of Teachers and I got a provisional accreditation. Nobody at a high school wants to have a casual who's provisional. So I thought, right, okay. I could go back and teach TAFE. I used to teach work opportunities for women. You've now got to have a certificate to teach at TAFE, which is $1,500 or whatever. So I'm wondering, I've been unemployed for 6 months, but I haven't been on unemployment benefits. Does somebody like me qualify to approach a workplace to say, hello, I'm capable, I can do something? Do you have to be on unemployment benefits for the employer to qualify?
This is yeah. I was just checking, but yes, yes, I understand that to be the case, and basically what we're saying is, given the shortage of money, if you are in a situation where there's another person in the relationship that is earning an income, and I am assuming that is the case in yours, oh, there isn't. Right, well in that case there would be, well, I'm trying to think, well, if you're not on New Start, well, have to be very careful going into people's personal details, but what can I just simply say that, yeah, that is the, whenever governments dream up schemes, and we're very good at that, regrettably, there's an arbitrary cut-off, or there has to be some sort of limit, and that is what we have got in place. But at this stage, let me put that caveat on it, at this stage, and we will monitor it. It's a sort of relatively new initiative. We'll see how it goes and see what the uptake is. But look, I take your point and understand it.
Could I just add, as a practical, even though I'm not a careers advisor, I think now that Certificate 4, which would enable you to teach a TAFE, I think the fees for that can now be paid for under a HEX arrangement. I think HEX has been extended to TAFE.
Yes.
So I just suggest you look into that, because if that's the case, that may be well the pathway forward for you. We might just have time for one more. Adriana's in charge.
I'm Natalie Collins from Media Access Australia. It strikes me that there are a lot of employment opportunities that could be made available to older people who use computers and technology. I think Abetz, what you were saying before about Bunnings can be very much work that tradespeople have previously completed, but there's a lot of opportunity using computers and technology. Are there any, is there any support or any information available to employers where they can be made available of the accessibility features that are in mainstream technologies like Microsoft or Apple products, so that older people who have early onset low vision or hearing impairments can be made available of the accessibility features, both for the employers, the job seekers, and employment providers, so that it is easier for older people to gain employment using technology.
Well, look, I think that's an important initiative. And as a matter of fact, Minister, I've just written to some of your colleagues about the question of accessibility and suggested that the Commonwealth, when procuring its own software, hardware, all of those things, look at having an accessibility requirement in the tenders. I can't see any downside. Maybe it's one of those things we just need to have your attention drawn to it. I think you make a very good point, and I think you're now aware of it, Minister, as I said, and I've written to some of your colleagues, so I think it's one which we pursue. Look, I think we've had quite a few questions, and you've been very generous with your time, Minister. I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you for coming and sharing and demonstrating your government's commitment to getting rid of age discrimination and telling us a little bit more about what I feel very optimistic about, your Restart program. I'd like to thank my colleagues at the Commission, my Commissioner colleagues, and the staff, particularly my staff who worked on this, and the company called Agency, who actually made the video, are represented here today by Rosie, Rowan and Murray. And the creativity element, Minister, I have to say, is a credit to them.
Where are they? They should stand up.
Stand up so we'll give you a clap. And thank you.
Surprisingly young.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want to make sure that what we produce would appeal to that age group as well as to everybody else. As I said, please make any use of the video that you can on your own websites or in your own companies. We hope to follow it up with some more material. We'll be letting you know when that happens. I hope you'll agree this has kicked us off pretty well.
And I hope we all go out today feeling a bit more pleased with ourselves, particularly those of us who are experiencing the power of oldness. So thank you very much, and please join us.